Hey there everybody, happy holidays. I am Crunchy Scott and today I am making Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas meatless barbecue meatballs. If you're not quite sure what Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas is, you're going to hear a lot more about that later in this video. This video is also a collaboration with my good friend Jolene Sugarbaker, the Trailer Park Queen. She is whipping up a delicious vegetarian recipe over on her channel. You'll be hearing more about that later on as well. But for now, let's just make some delicious barbecue. This is pretty much the perfect holiday recipe because it's so simple. It's just like dump, simmer, so pretty easy. I've started off with a can of actually tomato sauce. I usually used crushed tomatoes, but believe it or not, my grocery store was out of crushed tomatoes, so I'm just using this tomato sauce. Now don't use things like Prego or whatever, you know, some of those brand names. I'm just using the kind that has a little bit of crushed tomatoes in it. I think it says salt, garlic powder and onion powder. To me, it tastes basically like crushed tomatoes. So nothing with too much spice in it because we're going to be adding all the spice that we want. So next, let's sweeten this up. I'm going to add brown sugar. Yes. Oh, and I did, obviously swirl out the can with some of that. I think that was half a can to 3/4 of a can of water. No biggie there. And now we're going to add something that's really going to give this a good flavor. Molasses, yes. Oh gosh, I love this stuff. This adds such a good flavor to it. And you're probably already thinking, okay, brown sugar and molasses, that's a lot of sugar. But actually they provide kind of different sweetnesses, if that makes any sense at all. It's gonna be good, trust me. Okay, now let's add, and I only do this, my grandmother adds butter to her sauce. So I added 2 tablespoons of vegan butter. And let's add just some plain, let me get my spoon here, let's plain yellow mustard. Pretty easy, right? This is like stuff you should have like in your cupboard, so how easy is that? All right, and then we're gonna add some vinegar. And then we're gonna add just the normal spices. See here, I've got just salt, pepper, and some garlic powder. Add all that in. And now we're gonna add the holiday spices. What do I have here? I have nutmeg, I have cinnamon, I have allspice, I think. So let's see, is that right? No, ginger, nutmeg, and cinnamon. That's what I have. And then the 2 little cloves right there. We'll need to fish those out later. Okay, dump that in. And let's give that just a quick stir. We're not done with the spices yet. Well, we're done with the spices, but we're not done adding stuff. You'll want to put this on like a medium heat and let it simmer for a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to add kind of like a mystery ingredient. If I can talk, a mystery ingredient. This is cocoa powder. I know it sounds weird, but it's going to make it so rich. And I have one more kind of mystery ingredient that I'm going to add after this simmers for, I'd say, about 15 to 20 minutes. We want to bring everything together. For those of you who are not familiar with Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas, and I'm guessing that's most of you, there's actually a song in the show that's called Barbecue, which is why I'm making barbecue. But there's actually a line in that song that talks about how the barbecue is so sticky and sweet that it gets under your nails and it stays there for days and you can actually taste it after a few days. And I always thought that was a really cute line. And so that's kind of what I'm going for here as well. It is time now to holiday up this barbecue sauce, and I'm gonna do it with this cranberry sauce. I know, sounds so weird, but I promise you, it's gonna be absolutely delicious. Now, I used Trader Joe's jarred cranberry sauce for this. Completely not sponsored, promise. You can use what's in the can because most of the ones that I saw that are in the can are vegan because it's high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup. Trader Joe's version is fruit pectin, cranberries, and a ton of sugar, of course. But you use whatever you want to use, whatever you're comfortable with, and let it stir in for just a little bit. Now, this is the point where you're gonna decide for yourself how thick you want this barbecue sauce to be. So I'm gonna let it simmer for about 15 minutes and let it get really sticky and thick. That's how I like it. But if you like it a little bit thinner, then I would let it go for 5 minutes and then you're good to go. Just remember that we're gonna add this to our meatless meatballs, so it's actually gonna cook down a little bit more. Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas is the sweet story of Ma Otter and her son Emmet Otter, who don't have a ton of money, but they do have a ton of love for each other and for their friends. So the plot is that they each enter a contest secretly so they can win enough money to buy each other Christmas presents. Super sweet, right? But as a kid, what kept my attention was the really cool music and really the cool puppetry and muppetry that was going on. I just loved it. But in the end, the real message was that you don't need to buy a ton of presents or even any presents to have a wonderful holiday season and to be around the people that you love. That's really what's important. Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas was a Jim Henson production, and I never realized until I was an adult and started reading up on this what a cool part of Jim Henson's career this was, because for the first time he was able to use really neat design techniques to produce this show. The Muppets that were involved in Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas, there were two kinds. There were marionette-style Muppets, and then there were also, you know, the regular hand-style Muppets. But it was really the set designs that were completely innovative that allowed him to get wide shots and tight shots for the show. So these were the types of designs and techniques that Jim Henson went on to use later in The Muppet Show and even in some of his movies. How cool is that? So here they are, all delicious and beautiful. So I just used my favorite frozen meatless meatball that I get at the grocery store. I use Gardein. Again, that's not sponsored, but that's the one that I like. And then I cook them. I do suggest you cook them first and then you toss them in the sauce. Also, I don't suggest that you put all of the frozen meatballs and the sauce together in a crock pot and cook it overnight. For some reason, I find like the meatless meatballs just don't turn out that great when you do it that way. Now, with that said, once you make everything and you do toss these in the barbecue sauce, you can totally keep them warm in a crock pot and pull them out for your holiday open house or your holiday work party. It'll work just fine that way too. So I am going to post the link to the song that inspired this recipe down below. A big shout out to Jolene Sugarbaker for collaborating with me on this recipe and on this video. And other than that, you guys have a great holiday. Be sure to make this and check out Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas. You're going to love it all. Happy holidays. Oh my God. Woo, it's spicy and I love it.